We take you to Wall Street now as investors digest what the back and forth blows between Israel and Iran mean for the global economy. The Dow actually climbed today, but as the two countries strike at each other's energy facilities, investors grapple with the impact on oil prices, which is a key driver of inflation that could rattle global markets. Here's a look at the top 500 stocks right now. This is our interactive stock market heat map brought to you by FinViz. You can see a lot of big tech names like Nvidia, Meta, and Amazon leading the wins today. A lot of green on this chart. So let's bring in CBS News Money Watch correspondent Kelly O'Grady. Kelly, great to see you. We're hearing a lot of concern about oil prices, but stocks are up. So what's going on?
Well, this is really investors hoping and putting their money where their hope is that this conflict is going to stay limited to these two nations. There does appear to be a little bit of, some hope that maybe this doesn't go beyond other countries. That being said, we also did see oil prices lower. So we saw that big surge overnight. WTI, that's a Texas crude, it popped above $77. Certainly not the highest it's ever been by any means. I mean, back summer of 2022, we were well above $100, but that was a big surge. But by the time the markets opened up, you saw that lower. And it's a little bit of a sign that investors are saying, okay, we don't necessarily see this wide scale sort of big economic implications coming out of this. But Liz, just as you and I know very, very intimately, things can change on a dime. Investors are very reactive. And I think more than anything, what you are seeing is almost the hope and sort of the momentum that investors don't want this. There's always sort of reasons to pour in, especially ahead of an important Fed meeting. It's really going to be over these next couple of days that you see more where the market goes, especially coming out of the G7 meeting.
Yeah, I was just going to go into that, Kelly, because we're watching closely to see if any trade deals come out of this G7 summit. Now, before that 90-day pause ends on July 9th. So what do investors want to see?
They want to see some proof in the pudding. We do know that trade is a very big portion of this, other than, of course, everything that is happening with Israel and Iran and the talks there. But what investors want to see is some very meaningful, either, hey, we're continuing to talk, or maybe even a trade deal announced. Now, remember, it's going to be a trade deal with many of these nations. It would be a trade deal with the EU. Not all EU members are there. So that's maybe not something that you're going to see full blown, but certainly investors would like to see some kind of meaningful step forward. Canada's also a big one here. Of course, this being also taking place in Canada, we do have a trade deal with them currently, but there was all of that back and forth of whether we were going to see tariffs ratcheted up. We do know the USMCA, it is set to be potentially renegotiated next year. I think investors would like to see some meaningful progress with one of our biggest trade partners, Liz.
All right, Kelly O'Grady, thanks so much.